Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a very cool Pop Funko release, and not just any release. As you can see, we've got three. These are the brand new skeleton versions of the Jurassic World dinosaurs that have recently come out. You can see there is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a Triceratops, and a Dilophosaurus in the line. I think there's also a larger version of a raptor, but I haven't seen that one in person yet. I think I saw it for sale on Walmart's website. But as far as the packaging goes, when it comes to the Pop Funkos, it's pretty much exactly as you would expect, except now we have a nice shot here of our skeleton T-Rex, and then of course the window area, and then if we turn it around to the back, you can see here on the back, it shows off the three different figures in the line, and obviously another shot of our T-Rex, and you're going to see the same thing as you move through each and every one of these, except we're now going to replace the shot on the back of the T-Rex with the Triceratops for the Triceratops box, and same thing for the Dilophosaurus, except we can only really see a side shot of the Dilophosaurus. I guess there just wasn't enough room to include him in full body, but I'm going to pop each and every one of these open, and then we're going to dive into these a little bit closer. So here is our T-Rex. We also have our Dilophosaurus, and then finally our Triceratops, and I positioned those horribly, but they do look really cool out of the packaging. They have a surprisingly, and this is going to be a weird way to put this, but an authentic kind of a look. Now, obviously, these don't look like authentic dinosaur skeletons, but what I mean by that is the paintwork of them looks more natural and kind of realistic than I was expecting, where the paint looks like it is actually genuinely dirty, and they did a very good job of actually giving them that look. And if I grab them and start to bring them in here, like if we begin with the T-Rex, you can see, if my camera would focus correctly, you can see what I'm talking about, where, you know, the paintwork here that kind of looks like dirt doesn't just fill the insides here. You can see it's just kind of spread throughout in a way where it does have a genuine sort of a dirty look to it, which is really cool. I like inside the mouth of the T-Rex, you can kind of see like rocks and dirt and stuff in there as well, making it almost look like this has just been basically excavated from the dirt, and they didn't even bother to clean it. They just put it up for display. That's sort of the way it looks, which I think is pretty neat. We can see the teeth are all sculpted out here for the T-Rex. The majority of the body color, obviously, you're going to see is a brown. That's the coloration for the bones. And then we have a light brown or a tan for the dirt that is basically everywhere. And what's impressive is when you get nice and close, it does actually have some pretty nice detail to the bones. It's not going to be as impressive as you see on a lot of more high quality fossil replicas, but for a Pop Funko, I think the detailing of the bones is fairly impressive, and you'll see that moving through the T-Rex. Overall, it looks very nice, and very clearly they've allowed a lot of that, again in quotation marks, dirt, to show up inside the bones, where we could see it kind of filling up the rib cage and everything, basically just filling out the body of the T-Rex rather than with skin. Now, of course, we have this sort of dirt look here through the body, and we've got a really neat curve to the tail, nice turn here to the tail for the Tyrannosaurus, and even within the dirt, like you can see, the detailing of that area sports all kinds of cracks and crevices, which definitely makes it look cool. And then down here on the base, you basically just have a nice little earthy area with some rocks and stuff down there. You can see even little bits of dirt back there behind the feet of the T-Rex. It's almost like the dinosaur or the fossil was possessed and just popped itself up out of the earth and is now alive, going to kill us. I feel like I saw a movie that was similar to that. I think it was like Triassic Attack or something. I can't remember. It was years ago on Sci-Fi Channel, and I think I have it somewhere on DVD because that's the type of person I am. But there was a movie where there was like a killer dinosaur skeleton. But obviously here we have the Dilophosaurus, and the Dilophosaurus looks honestly as cool as the T-Rex does, and I love the fact that they've allowed that, again, dirt sort of look to go up into the crest. I also like that this one doesn't have the frill, because obviously you wouldn't expect to see that on this figure, and that allows you to have this look more so like a standard Dilophosaurus, not necessarily a Jurassic Park version, but obviously it's got that Jurassic Park look and just generally has the Pop Funko look, so it's not going to look great when it comes to attempting to have a more realistic interpretation of a Dilophosaurus. But you can see, again, the detailing of the bones on this one looks really nice. Again, almost the same sort of pose as we have for the T-Rex that we have for the Dilophosaurus, where the tail curves around toward its right. but the head is turned a little bit more on the Dilophosaurus, more so than our T-Rex. Same style base and everything, again, with like the rocks and stuff in the earthy area down here, which looks pretty nice. But overall, these are absolutely some of the coolest Pop Funkos I think that they have released in quite some time, and the biggest and most hefty overall would be the Triceratops. You can notice a very obvious difference in weight when it comes to the Triceratops over any of the other two, but obviously the body of the Triceratops is a lot thicker than we see over there for the T-Rex and Dilophosaurus. Also features a lot more of that dirt and stuff in there, so it's going to have a bit more of a heavier look, I think. I like that they've allowed the dirt on the Triceratops to kind of creep in and out of all of the cracks and crevices of the horns. That's a really nice touch. Same deal up there in the frill, really helping to highlight the detail and honestly showing off that these are some of the best when it comes to fine detail that I've seen on Pop Funko, honestly, ever, because a lot of the Pop Funko figures usually aren't all that highly detailed and have kind of like a sort of generic and stylized look to the skin texture, where a lot of it's sort of washed out and just not all that impressive, whereas this one, absolutely, honestly, all three of these show off a lot more fine detail that they've given these to allow that kind of dirt wash that they've applied, that kind of brown wash or tan wash, to highlight all of the detail, making the figures look much more impressive, but also showing off the fact that Pop Funko, when they need to, can sport some pretty impressive detailing. And leading down, you again see the same base and everything as we have for the others. The Triceratops actually has its cute little tail curved toward its left, which is the only of the three to do that. The others are facing the right. But the Triceratops looks absolutely awesome as well. As far as a size goes for these figures, for the T-Rex, lengthwise, you're looking at about 5¼ inches or around 13, maybe closing in on 13.5 centimeters. And then height-wise, about 3¾ inches or 9.5 centimeters. The Dilophosaurus is obviously the smallest of the bunch, at about 3¼ inches or 8 centimeters in length from the tail to the top of the crest. And then height-wise, about 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. Triceratops here looks to be honestly the biggest of the three, with a length of about 4¾ inches or a little over 12 centimeters, and then a height of about 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters, which seems to be pretty similar throughout the bunch. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Pop Funko Skeleton Jurassic World figures, and you can see they do have a pretty decent size, but overall are fairly small, like your standard Pop Funkos are. So if you're expecting something vastly different in size compared to your usual Pop Funkos, you're definitely not going to get that. You can see they're pretty close in size to what you usually get. Here we have a standard Pop Funko T-Rex next to the skeleton version of the T-Rex, and you can very clearly see the slight difference, ever so slight difference in size in the heads, but for the most part they are, again, pretty much the same size. Now, what is unfortunate, first of all, I don't have a base for this guy. I do have this figure as well in the, new condition with a base and everything, but I have that one still in box, so I'm not going to break that open for this comparison when I already have one over here just without the base. For the Dilophosaurus, we can stand those guys next to each other without my hands being in the way, but you can see they as well are pretty close to the same size, but the head is obviously quite a bit massive on the more living version of the Dilophosaurus next to the skeleton version. Now, what is unfortunate is for the Triceratops, the only real Triceratops release that I can recall there being in the Pop Funko line was, and we're not focused correctly, was the sick Triceratops. So you're not really going to get a good comparison with the Triceratops and the sick version. I just feel like because it's laying down, it's not going to be a good comparison to use. So for a comparison with our Triceratops, we're going to go ahead and just bring in the Dilophosaurus and T-Rex and stand it next to the Triceratops, and hopefully that will give you a pretty good idea of the size. So these brand new Pop Funko Jurassic World figures are pretty fun. The skeleton versions are definitely neat, and I like them because they're very different than what we've had previously. This is the first time we've had something like this as far as I can recall when it comes to the Jurassic Pop Funkos. And, instead of just re-releasing different dinosaurs with different paint apps, they've gone ahead and created something that's quite different, quite unique, and overall, I think quite appealing. And as I said during the actual review, I feel like it shows you that Pop Funko, when they need to, can create some pretty highly detailed figures, even though these, as I mentioned, aren't really as highly detailed as you would see for more realistic fossil replicas. They're still pretty highly detailed for Pop Funko, and they did a great job of applying nice cracks and crevices throughout the course of the skeletons to allow the wash that they've used to give it that dirty look to really creep in and out of all of those areas, and I think that definitely makes them look very fun. And overall, the appearances of them look pretty much like they would in Pop Funko Jurassic World form, but obviously in a very cool fossilized look, and I think that as well looks really neat. And the way that they have painted them, as I said earlier, even though they're very unrealistic looking versions of skeleton dinosaurs with giant heads and stuff, but it does have a more genuine look when it comes to the paintwork than I was expecting, because it does have a look of actually being dirty. Like, it looks like I took these outside, threw them in the dirt, rubbed them all around, and then brought them back in here to review, and they came straight out of the box like this, which definitely makes them pretty fun. But overall, I can absolutely say these are worth picking up. So if you are interested in doing that, I will include a link in the description to where you can on Amazon.com, because that's where I purchased mine. So make sure you do that if you want them, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.